Alright, we're ready to cast on for our toe-up socks. I've got about 1.5 feet of tail here for 16 stitches that we're going to cast on. So go ahead and put a loop of yarn over that bottom needle and let's cast on. Notice how I put my thumb over the stitches every time. Helps you keep everything under control. Evening up the tips of your needles can also help. Sometimes if it's like this, it gets a little funny. Alright, let's see how many that is. 4 on the bottom and 4 on top. Alright, the next step is just to push everything down and get your other ball of yarn, 1.5 feet of tail, and do everything again. That is literally how you cast on for 2 at a time toe up. It's so easy. You just do one sock and then the other sock. And try not to cast on too tight. We want these stitches to be able to move around on the needle. Alright, so now that I stopped, I forgot where I was. What do? So just loosening that up, it looks like this is the last stitch we did. So since we went bottom, top, we need to go bottom again. So come up here to get a loop on the bottom needle. Like that. Alright, how many stitches is that? We're almost done. Okay. So now we have 2 sets of stitches cast on for our toes. The next step right here is to rotate your needles like that. We're going to get to something that is close to ready position. It doesn't look quite like it. And the only reason it doesn't look like it is because in ready position, normally we rotate the needles like that so that one's in front and one's in back. This time I'm going to have you hold your needles like this, one on top and one on bottom, just so that you can see what you're looking at. That's all. Okay. Now watch out for this. This may fall off, so what I want you to do is take your tail and just wrap it around that working yarn one time and hold that. Let me show you. Just give it a twist and hold it against the back of your needles there, just so that loop doesn't go anywhere. Alright, next up, the bottom needle is our back needle. So pull out the back needle, the bottom needle, like this when we're ready to start knitting with magic loop. And our working yarn should be right back here. There it is. So go ahead and knit these 8 stitches. See, hold this cable nice and close up to your needles. You don't want to be stretching it out like this. Alright. So just knit straight across. Good. Last stitch. Now normally in magic loop we just drop that left hand needle and continue, get back to ready position, but this time there are stitches here still. So what I want you to do is drop the yarn from that ball of yarn, and we're going to get the yarn that comes from this sock right here and just do the same thing. Okay, we're going to knit these stitches using this needle. Don't pull this needle at all, just let that stay right there. And this is right here, and we're going to knit these stitches. Good. So now that, oops, there's one more stitch. How could I forget? There we go. And we should have, we have 8 knitted stitches. Okay, so now that this left needle is empty, no stitches on it, just go ahead and drop that. Rotate your needles. We're going to get back to ready position, so pinch the tip of this needles right here and pull this loop of cable. Pull until the needle comes back up here. Now use your fingers to push the stitches the rest of the way onto the needle. If you've been knitting too tight, that's going to be hard. okay? Or if you're pulling your first stitch too tight, it's going to be hard. This one is okay though, and these cables are sort of twisting, so I'm going to do this and rotate that needle to twist the cable out of the way. Alright, so now we have 2 sets of stitches up on our needles connected to 2 balls of yarn. And let's do this. Let's cut the tails of our yarn. Want to make sure that you don't get confused and accidentally knit your tail, so let's just cut it to 6 inches long. That way we won't have to worry about accidentally knitting with your tail. Alright, so we've gone halfway around, and you can see that this is why the bottom needle is our back needle, because it has the working yarn attached to it. So this is the needle that we're going to want to pull. Alright, in order to do the second half of this round, I want you to look very carefully. See how these stitches are backwards? The side of the loop that's closest to the tip of the needle is also in the back. That's okay, they're just backwards. So what we're going to do is knit each of these stitches on this side, just this once, through the back loops to straighten everything out. This basically turns the stitch around for us without us having to, like do like this, take it off and turn it around. But see how that looks normal now? So I'll knit that one normally. Now finish knitting the rest of these stitches through the back loop. Alright, so there's one sock. Let's tug that tail. We've got 8 stitches on each half, still good. There's our invisible toe. Can't even see where we started. Alright, so moving on to the second sock, don't pull this at all. Okay, just leave it just like that. Do I sound like a broken record? Alright, let's push these up the rest of the way. Our working yarn should be coming off the back needle, and so this looks a little weird, right? Because we've already pulled that bottom needle out and around. That's why your yarn is coming off a cable this time and not off the needle like we're used to. Okay, but it's right back there, right where you need it. Okay, so now let's knit the rest of these stitches through the back loop, and we'll get back to ready position. Alright, so now we can drop that needle. There are no stitches on it. Rotate our knitting around. Now pinching right here so that our stitches don't fly off the end. And hold on to both of your stitches as you pull the cable so that this needle that was empty can be pushed back onto our stitches, just like that. Now, see how I've got my 2 sets of stitches? They're close to each other, but they are not touching. This is the ideal relationship for socks, and I think pretty much for anything else. They're separate, but close, okay? We do not want the sock to be down here like this, okay? They want to be like sisters. Close. Separate, but close, okay? If we do this accidentally, which I see some people do, you may accidentally, knit all the way along here and then continue knitting and knit your socks together. You'll know it right away if you do it, so don't worry, you'll notice. Alright, so we're back to ready position. The last thing I want to do before we move on is mark the beginning of our round. We can see here that here's our tail. That's where we started, okay? I just want you to know where we started, so we're just going to take a marker like this and stick it just right in here on the side. Like that, and mark it. It doesn't have to be pretty, I'm just sticking it straight through the sock. I'm not marking any particular stitch, just this side versus this side. And I don't have to mark this sock either because they're exactly the same. They're not symmetrical or anything, they're exactly the same. So this is the beginning of this sock and this is the beginning of this sock, and now we know. Alright, so we're going to increase next. Meet me at the next video.